Hello and welcome to the Equestrian Mums Club podcast. We're your hosts, Katie Allen Clark and Sophie Conway, avid equestrians and recent first-time mums. Join us and a herd of other guests as we discuss the wild ride of parenthood and horse care together. Now it's time to take up the reins and walk on into our next episode. Cool, so we're here with Jane. Jane, who are you? And what do you do?
Okay, so I'm a mother of four. All four of mine ride. I live in Lambourne, and what do? I don't have a job as such, but I support my husband, who's a racing manager and consultant in horse racing.
Can I just say as well, I know Jane, and she does more than any other person with a full-time job I've ever met. So, she's being incredibly modest with what she does because she doesn't stop ever.
Well, I do all sorts of things, but I call myself an administrator now because I do, like, I've been working, for example, for 8 years on a potentially huge project for recycling waste racehorse shavings.
Okay.
Which has involved engineers, and it gets involved in grey water, soil structure. It's very relevant for all horsey people, and we're in an area here of nutrient neutrality, and it's all to do with soil health and trees, and it gets into ash dieback and all sorts of things.
That's fascinating.
So
it's amazing.
That's one of them. It's a huge subject. Okay, so
it's huge. It's huge.
It sounds far too qualified for us.
We've been on rides before where it's the only thing we've talked about.
Okay, so you've got plenty to occupy your days with then.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And then just running the house, and anything to do with the yard, to do with repairs, boiler, block drains, all of that.
It's you.
My husband, it's me that does all that. So, or get somebody in. Yeah.
So, a regular super mum here.
Yeah.
A regular
oh my
super
goodness.
woman.
Yeah. I think that all of Jane's kids would agree that she is super mum and superwoman.
So, Jane, how many horses do you have?
So we outside of work horses. None of our work horses are here. They're actually at the stud. There's studs various around the world, and so we've just got 4 now.
Just the 4.
Just 2 in work and 2 retired.
Okay.
But we've gone from having 9, 5 of those were polar ponies. At one point, when we've got 4 children, all riding, and at one point there were 5 ponies. One was moving on to another, and we couldn't quite let it go, kind of thing, and that sort of thing. And and I was explaining to Sophie this morning, they all used to live. We've got this huge converted cattle shed, which we deep litter, and they lived in there. In the winter, they would go in there, and it was quite easy.
How easy is that?
Yeah,
just go in.
Well, I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, it is. Make it as easy as possible for yourself.
I think make it easy rather than cut corners.
Yeah.
There's ways of making it easy where the horses don't notice.
Yeah.
And actually it's nicer for them sometimes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, oh wow. Other than horses here, do you have any other creatures that you have to take care of as well?
Dogs.
Dogs, yeah. Comes with the territory.
We walked hound puppies for over 20 years. That was interesting time. And we've got we had hens, but we've had a sort of massacre.
We've had a massacre.
There aren't any left at the moment, so I am going to get more. And then
can I just ask, the massacre
cats.
Unintentional?
Unintentional. Yeah. It was a sort of
they went on the
long
missing
drawn
list.
out. Yeah, they went on the missing list, and then some actually died, and then others reappeared. So, and then they died too. So, and I do shut them in at night. Poor things. It's awful. I love them too.
I know I loved them, but they did poo all over my stables, which was annoying.
I know they do, yeah, but they also eat weeds out of the lawn.
We've got cats now as well up here, and they've been killing all the rats. We haven't seen any rats in ages.
Yeah,
have we?
we had
It's really
a part of my administration was I had to have I sacked the rat man who was useless, and I did it myself basically. I learned how to mix concrete. I learnt where the rat runs were. I googled up rat habits. So, for example, a rat, did you know, won't go below 18 inches. It doesn't dig below 18 inches. So I knew that I could pour the concrete down because I didn't know if it would go down
far enough.
how far I was pouring expensive concrete down. I didn't know.
Yeah, I know.
But actually, then it would stop. It would come back out of the hole at me. So I knew that hole was full.
Yeah, but
I was
also,
at it for weeks,
no,
wasn't
I know, and also Jane got this contraption which was useless, but I think it was hilarious. Where if the rat walked onto it, it shot the rat in the air and then shot it.
Yeah,
did
that's true.
it.
Electrically, yeah, and it was meant to stun it
when it was in the air. We've had every single rat contraption up here, and the only thing that's actually got real control of it is the cats, isn't it?
The cats and me.
And Jane.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because I really try hard not to use poison.
Yeah, because it's not very nice.
Yeah,
But,
it's
and also
not.
we have dogs.
And also, when your dog eats it, Mabel, Alan Clark,
Dangerous. Yeah,
then you spend weeks at the vets. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Anyway, I feel like we haven't even got into this conversation yet, and I'm already like Jane for Prime Minister. So
That's what we need.
No, all I've said is I could help you with rats.
this is amazing. So tell us a little bit more about your upbringing then. Did you grow up around horses?
I did. I grew up in Ireland, and really, we spent our entire time on horses, on ponies, bareback a lot of the time. If to meet our friends, we'd just get on bareback with a head collar. I don't think my mother knew or really cared where we were, to be honest. But everybody in the community, they knew whose was whose, and there wasn't a big radius. But there's a mountain behind my house. We did used to go up, but I did have to say if we were going on a mountain.
You had to tell them about
Yeah,
that.
we did have to say.
Tell them if you're mountaineering.
Did that, having that upbringing, is that what made you want a similar thing for your kids?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And Simon was the same, although he grew up in England, but he had the same lovely, free upbringing.
Yeah.
And in a place where there wasn't much traffic, and they used to bring on ponies and then sell them, and so did we actually. Very few of ours, they were either hand-me-downs or they were youngsters.
Amazing.
And actually, Jane has got a very good eye for a horse.
Oh, brilliant. I need to bring you with me at all times then.
Yeah,
because I seem to buy the ones that break.
The two horses that Jane, you picked them as well.
Well,
Didn't you?
There's a lot of luck, I think.
The two
There's a lot of
horses
luck.
that Jane has in work at the moment, they are just the best pair. Anybody would want them on their yard, and Jane picked them. So it's obviously put you in good stead.
I have to say though, it's all about personal preference, because when I once rode Darcy, was it Darcy?
She rode Darcy.
Darcy retired. Yeah.
He desperately wanted to go faster than he was allowed.
Yes, he has quite a keen.
This was ages ago. He was quite keen, yeah.
quite keen.
Yeah.
Darcy is a teddy bear. He's absolutely gorgeous.
He always stops when he gets there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He'll never.
It never went anywhere.
He'll never keep going.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, going back to your upbringing a little bit, then, what did you do? Any disciplines as such? Did you do pony club? Did you do any dressaging? Did you do hunting? What did you do?
Oh, I see. Yeah, pony club.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky because we lived on a farm, and they, my parents ran it's Grove horse trials, which they still run to this day. My mother, sadly, my father's died now, and it was really my mother's thing. So they've got an arena there. They've got a lot of cross country jumps built up over the years, And so all the pony club rallies, or a lot of them, were at my parents'. So
How
that made it
ideal.
really
How
easy.
amazing.
Yeah. So I think my mother had an absolute toddle, to be honest.
I think no,
That sounds.
She was off doing
ideal.
something else. And,
Did you told me a story once before about when your mum actually had you?
what, when I was born? You mean?
Yeah, when you were born.
Yeah, I think that's the story for another day.
Okay, fine.
Non-horse
We'll
connected.
We'll save that one.
Yeah. All I can say is that second babies come quickly.
Very quickly.
So talking about that, did you ride when you were pregnant with any of yours?
Yeah, I did. Some of them, because I didn't know I was pregnant yet.
This sounds familiar.
Yes, I know. And I, there we go. I mean, I was lucky and it was fine. I do have friends that weren't so lucky, and I don't know if that's the riding or if maybe the baby just wasn't meant to be. So
miscarriages is it happens so often, much more often than we actually realise, I think.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think people miscarry and they don't even know they're pregnant.
They don't even exactly.
Yeah. And
exactly.
I think it happens. I think it happens quite a lot. But once you get past the 3-month stage and the risk of miscarriage decreases, weirdly, the risk of riding increases because the baby comes out of the pelvis. And that's where they're very protected. So if you were to have a fall,
that's the thing. It's all very well until it's not.
Until it's not very well, exactly. But why did you stop riding?
Well, I stopped riding because I think I had one off the leading rein, one on the leading rein, and then I was pregnant with our third, and he was quite a big baby, and it became really difficult to get on and off.
Yes.
We've had that conversation.
Yeah.
And then if you need a pee, which you need to do
all the time. Yeah.
And then basically I was actually hunting as well. And basically my husband said to me one day, I think I'd got to 5 months, and he said, listen, you are either hunting or pregnant, and you are clearly pregnant. So that's that.
It took an outsider.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky. I was very well. So, but look, that's not for everybody, and each to their own.
Yeah.
Each to their own.
Yeah. We were talking about this on, I think, one of our first podcasts, weren't we? It is all so individual, and there's no judgment here.
It was actually you don't know this probably, but it was actually, I might have said it on the podcast, but it was actually you, Jane, that said to me, I think you've had enough of riding now. You did. I think that's quite enough riding now.
I think I might have had Alex whisper in my ear. Yeah. It is the thing that if you fall, it's so silly. Your little baby is so precious. Every baby is a miracle.
But that's something that you don't realise until you've had them. And we hadn't had them.
Exactly.
We were so...
Yeah.
We did admit this. We were very pig-headed, both of us.
Yeah, you are a bit pig-headed because you don't realise quite how precious they are until you've got them here. And oh my goodness, when Olive was here, I could barely bring her outside. I was so worried about her.
Yeah.
Whereas I was galloping around the countryside when she was in my belly. It's
weird, isn't it?
Really weird.
But I fell down the stairs once with one of mine.
That's terrifying.
And I was 8 months pregnant. And I was... I promise you, it didn't actually hurt so much, but I went straight into the landlord surgery, and they tested the baby's heartbeat, they tested my blood pressure and all of that. And it was amazing. The nurse really reassured me and said, there's so much fluid around the baby. They're so protected.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And just be quiet for the next couple of days. Don't go climbing mountains or whatever,
No more mountaineering.
No more mountaineering. And so just try and be a little bit quiet for a bit, and everything will settle. And it did, and it was fine.
Thank goodness.
But it wasn't
Who
nice,
was that?
and that was just an accident. That was Peter.
Peter's the second one.
But I think, part of these things, they happen. Your tummy's so big,
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
Your
can't
centre of
feel
gravity.
You're unbalanced, aren't you?
And I'm always
Yeah.
carrying something, so
Yeah, always
it
carry
can
something.
happen easily.
Yeah.
Um,
When did you get back in the saddle after yours? Was it, fairly quickly, or did any of your pregnancies give you complications?
I had one cesarean, our youngest. I had an emergency cesarean, so I think that took longer. Actually, that did take longer.
well, I think
If
an
I'm honest.
emergency as well, because you were Katie had a planned C-section. She was on 6 weeks after, but I think
Yeah,
in those days,
Yeah.
5 weeks after, but I think in those days when Lara was born, which was 18 years
yeah,
ago now,
yeah,
and an emergency as well, so that's a big recovery.
Yeah.
And my mum
Yeah.
was exactly the same with me.
Yeah.
She didn't recover. It took her a long time.
But I think everybody's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got friends where they had an emergency cesarean and they were fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I just think
It's luck of the draw, isn't it? It's
I'm
luck
afraid
of
it
the draw.
is. But I think the thing is you've got to, well, as I've had more and more children and different things have happened, I'm a firm believer, and I said this to you, Sophie, when you were expecting, whatever happens, you will get better.
yeah,
You
you
know,
did. Jane did say that to
you-
me. She said that your body will recover.
Your body is extraordinary.
Yeah,
It might take a bit longer, like definitely with our youngest, because I was 39 when I had her. It wore me out
yeah.
for probably
Yeah.
2 years, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you
I
did
got
have-
acne.
Well, you did have quite a lot of
Rosacea,
other children.
you know.
Other children.
Well, I did have other children to look after,
Yeah.
and then I was doing quite a lot of school runs. Yeah, and our oldest had a really bad stammer, and he was having speech therapy at least twice a day.
Oh wow,
Bless him.
Yeah, so
That's-
that
this is-
put a load on.
that's a
me.
lot of admin.
This guy is
It was-
now
yeah.
is now one of the most successful people I know.
I know.
He's so clever.
He's just been on this business trip and done 6 presentations in 3 days. Stood up in front of these people, which he had to be prepared. Obviously, he will always have his stammer, but
he's
he's extraordinary.
he is extraordinary. Yeah, he's amazing.
I have one more question about sort of your horsing, your personal horsing, which was, did you feel that your confidence or your abilities as a rider changed after having your kiddos?
Definitely, every time.
Really,
Yeah,
every
every
time.
I lost my nerve and I had to go through it again, climbing
Is it-
that.
I'm really surprised actually that it was
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah, every time.
Because
For
I
me,
can imagine it with
but
birth.
I've known other people who it just isn't a problem at all. So everyone's different.
Well,
Yeah.
I lost my nerve, didn't I, a bit, and only now, a year later, am I getting it back at all. And I
Yeah.
feel better now.
Yeah.
I'm not on a horse, but
But I think that if you were to have another one, I think you'd probably get your nerve back quicker because you recognise it.
maybe, yeah. You
You-
know what's going to happen.
You've got tools to deal with it.
It's
What
true.
do you think the turning point was for you in getting your confidence back? Because you still ride now, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think fitness, because having had a baby, you're unfit in a different way. And so you've got to rebuild muscles that have never had to be rebuilt before. You're dealing with getting your figure back and that kind of thing. You've changed shape. So I think unfitness. And I had lessons as well. I think that really helped.
Mm.
I went with other mummies. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to do if you can.
Having somebody on the ground, actually, I find it always gives me confidence.
Gives you
Yeah.
confidence.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because they're there and they can kind of say you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's-
And riding with people. I didn't, after having each baby, I didn't get up and then go off riding by myself. I went with somebody until
you have to be sensible.
yeah,
about it, don't
yeah,
you?
yeah.
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 Thank you. That's really nice to hear because it makes us
Yeah.
feel like we're not the only ones.
Yeah.
So the next section is around sort of motherhood.
One of the best things about riding out with Jane is to hear all of her amazing stories about when the kids were younger and how she coped with all the children that she had, all the ponies that she had, running this amazing house and land and everything else, and also still managing to get out hunting most weekends. I do not know how you did it, but I'd be really interested to know what your favourite memory of having kids and horses is.
Golly, I've got many, many favourite memories of just fabulous days out, to be honest, as a family. I mean, you cannot beat it.
I bet.
You cannot beat it. That and, well, something to do with the sea, you know, if we lived by the sea and did that, that is probably as good as. But anyway, us was inland with horses. But lots of funny things happened. Lots of funny things, because I was always stretched, you know. We entertain a lot. I'd have to, I don't know, get my hair washed. I'd think, well, right, I need to get my hair sorted, and then I had to deal with all these ponies and you know, get all the children in the right place or get them fed or do what they had to do. But I had to be in a place in a certain way by a certain time, and that had to be, it was always time sensitive. So I mean, one quite interesting time was we had to leave. Anyway, I put all the ponies on the walker, and I thought I was doing really well, everything done, got in the car, changed, demudded, all loaded up, off we go. And the phone goes just as we'd left, and luckily our girl at the time who was in the yard rang and said, did you mean to leave the ponies on the walker? And I said, oh my God, I forgot to take them off.
This poor pony, imagine. She's going round and round in circles.
Going round and round. Anyway, they hadn't been there that long. Anyway, so luckily she took them off. So yeah, I think we were probably hunting the next day or something, and they, you know, I needed to make sure they were all very well behaved for the next day. So
amazing. That's the sort. That's what we were talking about in one of our other podcasts. Is about how, you know, sometimes you are going to miss stuff.
Yeah.
Just try not to miss the big stuff.
Yeah.
Like where they are.
Absolutely. Or doing things like following the sat nav to Pony Club Rally when they started doing things like sea tests and stuff, and there were dismounted rallies and mounted rallies. And one famous occasion, I turned up at the dismounted with the pony and also did the opposite. Turned out at the mounted without the pony, thinking it was dismounted. And then another time I got the sat nav wrong, and I ended up, and this is absolutely true, with the trailer and the two ponies in the back, and I went into a multi-storey car park. The children kept saying, Mommy, I think it's the wrong way. I said, well, I can't turn now because so I had to drive around the car park.
Oh my goodness, that gives me anxiety just thinking.
I had to drive around the car park and out again.
That's horrific. That's amazing.
That is incredible. So I daren't ask the next question, which is, did juggling get any easier or harder with the next addition to the family?
It definitely did, because the children get older and they get to be able to help.
And they can help.
They can help.
That is. You said that to me once,
Yeah.
actually, about the playing thing. Jane said that you should have another one because then they play with each other and you can just sort of leave them for a bit longer.
Yeah.
That's genius.
It is.
And I used to, because obviously you're always aware that they could be in underneath a horse. So I was at one point. In fact, the rings are still there. I tied them up. You know where we park the cars now, Sophie?
Yeah.
I used to tie the ponies up there outside the yard, close the gate, and have the children on the other side.
That's a good idea.
So then we'd be mucking out, doing feeds, doing tack.
And there was no
So
way they could go underneath.
there was no way they could get underneath. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we'd bring one pony in at a time. But
Yeah.
the ponies were right there.
So you could
But
see
it just-
So you
everyone.
could see them.
You
You
had-
could see everyone.
I had eyes on
view of
everyone.
yeah.
That's
Quite
a good idea.
exhausting. Yeah.
Quite
Oh,
exhausting.
wow.
I know.
Did you ever feel like you were missing out on your own horsey life when the kids were around?
I suppose we all want to improve our riding the whole time, and that's one of the endless fascinations of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so you don't have to, you're always driving them somewhere, and a lot of the time. So you do have to really, really try hard to book something in for yourself. A friend of mine said it's a bit like doing breaststroke with the stuff on your list and you push it out of the way and you carve yourself a path as a mummy to.
It's a really lovely
Yeah,
analogy,
I think it's a
actually.
really good way, and I
Yeah.
always think of that. Gosh, I'm just going to have to push through here to make room for me.
For what you want
Yeah.
to do, something
Yeah.
for you, even if
Yeah.
it's just one thing.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very, very. That's a really good analogy.
Yeah, she's got something in her mouth.
She's got a tree.
Yeah, okay.
She's
Yeah, Olive,
That's
don't,
the only thing.
don't eat the firewood.
That's fun. She's got-
Did you ever feel then, on the same vein, like mum guilt about then doing your own thing when they were around, or was it just like, I know I need to do this for me?
Yeah. No, I didn't, because I don't think I overdid it in that way at all. So, and don't forget all the many days that we did have. We had fabulous days out with the children. They were family
You
days.
were all together.
We were all together. We had
Yeah.
a picnic. It was all. A lot of it was probably more about the picnic and the fact that they were allowed a bar of chocolate because it was a treat, and hot chocolate, and I always made sure we had something like that. It was a lot about that and being with their friends.
What an
Besides the ponies,
yeah, and the ponies were kind of damaged collateral
Yeah.
a little bit with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you have, obviously your husband is horsey as well, so that really, that must have really been
That helped.
amazing. But did you have any other sort of like wider support network to help you along the way?
Well, when they were really teeny weeny, my mother-in-law was amazing, and my mother's obviously not in this country, so it couldn't be so helpful. But my mother-in-law is also horsey, and yes, if she was ever around, she was brilliant. At one stage, we had a pony that pulled a trap. We taught it to pull a trap, so I thought we'd get the youngest two in the trap, and then the oldest two could ride along, and we could all go out together.
Wow.
But then I hadn't really thought it through, because obviously you need a track, and the children didn't know anything about roads because they were too little. So what we used to do is go out across the stubble, which was fine until it rained, of course. Anyway, we had a few outings like that, and if their friends came round, that was good fun. Yeah.
It sounds
They didn't
just
know anything
so
about
Yeah.
roads.
Yeah, and I borrowed the track. It was all borrowed kit. Yeah.
Something that I wanted to ask you is if you always wanted to have a big family. Did you always want to have a large family with all those children?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I always wanted four. I always said I wanted 4 children, and then when I was little, and then once I'd had one, I said that's it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are like that, aren't they? And
yeah.
then number
I
2
feel very
comes
much in
out
that
of the
camp.
blue. Yeah.
Katie's very much in that camp.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that camp.
I don't think you really plan. We certainly didn't plan it. There's an unequal gap between all 4 of us.
Yeah,
They just appeared when they appeared.
yeah. Which is sometimes the way it needs to be,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any tips for people that are juggling the 2 sides of this life that we've chosen?
Yeah. I think I've got 2. There's so many tips, but I think to share it, to try and do things with another mummy who's also got a child. So whether they look after your child while you ride, or somehow to share kit, to share ponies. Yeah, that is definitely a way to do it, to get yourself out the door.
Well, that also shares the financial cost a lot of the time as well.
I think it's really all our stuff when they were little, because the children were growing as well, don't forget. So you don't want to always be buying, and so and this was really before WhatsApp and all of that. So now you guys can network so quickly.
Yeah,
and
on
just
Equestrian
find-
Mums Club.
On Equestrian Mums Club.
Exactly, to share kit. And
We
that's-
didn't pay Jane.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was, I can't remember what the question was now, but definitely.
I think I know the answer to the next question, which is just going to be our last question.
Last question for Jane.
Which is there anything you would do differently now if you could go back in time?
Wow.
wouldn't have them.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. No. Oh, I know what I was going to say with the sharing thing. I was going to say that with very young children, I think people are always in a terrible hurry to introduce them to ponies and horses and everything. And you can always get a ride and an experience with ponies without having to buy one.
Yes, I
And
agree.
the other thing is the amount of young mummies I see with children who, when it's cold and wet, just don't go, cancel it.
Yeah.
What is the point?
It's,
Honestly.
that's kind of goes back to what we were saying about that. Leaving the rugs on overnight if we haven't got time.
Yeah.
Leaving their outdoors on, and just
It's not going to hurt them once.
it's
in a
not
while.
going to kill them, but it's also not going to kill the kids to miss a riding lesson if it's
Exactly.
horrible.
Yeah.
I
think it's key, and when they've had enough, that's it. Stop
Keep it
before
fun.
they get tired.
Yeah, keep it fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. Jane, thank you so much for coming in and joining us and giving us an insight into, you've been there and done it, and it's really important for people.
And it's so weird for you to say that. I just
you're through the other side.
makes it look, I just can't believe that. It's just sort of happened over the years.
You're through
And here
the
we
other
are.
side. Yeah,
I know.
and here we are. But you've got,
Yeah.
you've got 4 kids now that aren't really kids anymore, and
No,
they
they're all
are
grown up.
they
Yeah.
are the loveliest, most polite, best company as well. All of your children that you could possibly
They're all
meet.
very sweet.
But they are. They really are, and they're all very good riders. And actually, if we can all bring our children up the way Jane's brought hers up, that would be really
Well,
useful. So
I think it's been great.
take note.
I'm very proud of the fact that they all ride.
yeah,
They didn't always all ride, and that's another thing I'd say. If
fine.
you have a child that isn't interested, don't push it.
yeah. Which that's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
Save yourself the pennies.
Yeah, absolutely. Share.
We really appreciate you coming on. We hope that our listeners have had a good insight into what can be the light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
See you on it.
Yeah. Oh well.
And we'll see you on the next podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode from the Equestrian Mums Club. It's been great to have you along for the ride. Just remember, you can let us know your thoughts and feedback by submitting a review directly through your podcast streaming provider, so Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or you can get in touch with us via the socials at Equestrian Mums Club on Instagram or Facebook, or you can send us an email, hello@equestrianmumsclub.co.uk. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.